And now for this particular panel, ladies and gentlemen, it will be my pleasure and honor to invite our honorable panel members and the moderator on stage. So please help me welcome, with a big round of applause, joining us first in this panel, Mr. Devasheesh Kumar, General Manager HR from C&S Electric. A big round of applause to Devasheesh Kumar. Devasheesh, you welcome to the panel. Please have your seat. Joining us next in the panel, we have Mr. Mayank Akhani, Director of Global LD&E from Etech Global Services. Big round of applause to Mr. Mayank Akhani. Mayank, welcome to the panel. Please have your seat. Joining next in the panel, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Rishykesh Priyadarshi, General Manager HR from Airports Authority of India. A big round of applause to Rishykesh. Rishykesh, welcome to the panel. Joining next in the panel, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Captain Vipul Sharma, DGM-HR from Admin and IT, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, India. A big round of applause to Captain. Captain Sharma, welcome to the panel again. Joining next, we have Mr. Abhishek Gupta, Head of Human Resources from ZebPay. A big round of applause to Abhishek. Abhishek, welcome to the panel. Please have your seat. Joining next in the panel, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Amit Jindal, Human Resources Lead for Fleet from CJ Darcl Logistics. A big round of applause to Amit. Amit, welcome to the panel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us introduce and welcome our honorable panel moderator, Mr. Joy Banerjee, Group Head HR from IL&FS Group. A big round of applause to Joy. Mr. Banerjee, welcome to the panel. All over to you, Mr. Banerjee. Looking forward to a great session.
Thank you so much. So this is the most toughest job that we've got post-lunch with a room full of people, and we have to keep them awake. So good morning. Oh, so people are awake. Good. So thank you for giving me the confirmation. We'll keep doing this confirmation during the entire session. So our session today is to have an interesting conversation on humanization versus automation, or automation versus humanization. Let's see where we go from there. This is an interesting topic for all of us because we see the advent of people getting challenged because there's automation, people getting challenged because their jobs are at stake. So let us deep dive into it and see where we are, right? And the best part of this panel is we are not going to wait till the end for the audience to ask the question. We are going to jump into the audience the moment we see there is something which is emerging from the audience, or if you see some of the mentors getting opened up, so we know that dimag ki batti jalani padegi. So we're going to get back to you. Okay, so we'll keep it alive as far as possible from our side, but we need your help to keep it alive. Okay, so do we have that? Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's jump in. So I'll pick up the first question, and I'll go to Captain. That the question for you is, how can companies strike the right balance between automation and humanization in the hiring process to ensure efficiency while maintaining the quality of candidate selection? Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to you all. We had a lovely lunch together, and I got opportunity to meet most of the people over here, so thank you so much. Regarding automation versus humanization, we were just discussing as a panel, and I think we echoed the same sentiment that it is automation with humanization, and why we should make or draw some parallel, or versus sort of stuff, wherein we know that any automation has to begin with humanization, and at the end of it, it has to be controlled from the human element. In the morning, we also spoke about it. The human element is very important. Now, but at the same time, this doesn't mean that automation as a process is something which we can give less weightage or mileage to. At every single possible step in the company, over the years, been like 14 years where I've seen, we have taken many leaps into the automation processes. Most of the time, the things have become simplified. And I was also discussing here that, we have complexified certain processes as well. So once we say the automation, it should be really simplifying our lives. So in our company, we introduced the initiative. Now the processes were in place, the policies were in place, SOPs in place, and then when we automated it, then we have to see that we also had to change our processes, change our policies to be aligned with the automation. Now, in terms of invoicing process, I'll come to the very basic things where we did in portions which we wanted to control in a particular manner. We could figure out that we have doubled our work. In recruitment, I had attended one session where I will take the company's name. It was Mr. Venkat's I Quiz You Answer. So I had an interesting session with them for 1 hour where the recruitment part, the interviews were taken by bots. And I think you shared a lot about it. I heard in your session that it really helped and the kind of questions were asked. But at the same time, the kind of questions when I asked them, they said, no, we have to develop further on this. So sticking to it, not taking much time, the recruitment portion for the world, if we have to go for the bulk recruitments, automation has to come in. There are no two doubts about it. But how we are going to do it, and at what point of the time during the automation, the control has to be come with the human elements. So that will be the defining portion in HR life for next 5 years, because this remains a challenge area. So with this, I'd like to conclude, and I think we can discuss further. Thank you.
That's wonderful, and thanks for getting a quick start on that. I think what would be interesting to know is, Devasheesh, I'll come to you, is like with your experience, what do you think, like where are we moving on that, and what are your thoughts on that?
So, good afternoon, everyone. Look, I can just tell you the imagination that maybe after 5 or 7 years, so instead of 7 of panelists, 7 boards, AI-driven boards might be there as a panelist and might be discussing where humans can add value. Right? So this is the future. So be ready for it. So right now, when you talk about what this entire automation is going to add value, yes, it's definitely add lot of value. Earlier, we used to have a position, we initiate MRF, then advertisement, then application, then manual screening. It's a huge task. That time is huge, and investment cost is also huge. But now, 5 years back, I have dreamed about a process where I just fill a MRF and the AI can do everything by their own. They advertise they create the JD, advertise the position in the portals, collect the application, screen them, even artificial virtual interface, they interview the candidate as well. And with the tie-up of various psychometric tests, they just check the psychometric part as well. They've just interviewed the video session with them, and maybe in the morning, I have 5 smiling faces with scores. Look, these are the 5 best suits for you. You just interact and close. That was the dream I had 5 years back. But we really when started to implement those things. So yes, few part of my dream has come true, no doubt. But still, a lot of automation, or rather say integration, is required. And yes, if you talk about, there is no doubt. Now the first reaction time is as fast as 3 hours. Because once in a business meet, I challenge my management. After his resignation, I can forward relevant CV in 3 hours. That's the best time we have ever tried to touch, and we have touched so many years with this kind of efficiency. So this kind of confidence and commitment is only possible with the help of latest technology, what we are prevailing at the moment. Otherwise, yes, you are going to be far behind in terms of customer expectation versus your deliveries.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing in that perspective. I think that intrigues me to come to you, Amit, because you're wearing 2 different hats. So my question to you is, what are the key challenges that organizations are facing when implementing automated hiring systems? And how can these challenges be mitigated to ensure a fair and inclusive recruitment process? So what are your thoughts on that?
Right, so I'll go back to basics. automation, so we talk about automation and artificial intelligence in one sentence. For me, they are two different things altogether. The challenge starts when we depend a lot on technical tools for automation. We have to think a little before that. Are our processes well defined? So let's forget about recruitment for a moment. Anything that we do in our company or at house, if it can run without my presence, it is automated. Because it is so well defined that anybody can take care of it. So if anybody can take care of it, you might as well use technology to do it. That is automation. So first of all, definition of processes is one big challenge that we should focus on. Once the processes are well defined, then it is our conscious call whether we want to do digital transformation or whether we want to do it manually. So if the resources allow us, we want to go with digital transformation, let's go with it. And then once we have enough data, which we call it training data, then we go towards artificial intelligence. Because at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is biased to what we feed into it, right? So if I have fed it the biased data into the system, the outcome that I get will be biased, right? So the challenge is, first, defining processes, second, collecting unbiased data, and then using it, right? So if we want to correct the processes, whether it is recruitment or anything in HR or business, first of all, let's define the processes in the right way.
That's wonderful. And I think what's happening today in the world that we are living in, the data, the way we collect the data, the way we restore the data, and the way we analyze this data is becoming very critical for our success. So keeping that in mind, I'm intrigued to go to you, Mayank, and like to know from you, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So, thank you for that question. And I would also like to tie back to, what Sir mentioned and what we heard there. When it comes to, automation versus humanization, it's never versus. It is always with. And to go back to that, what we have done in our organization is there are certain processes where we have initially automated it, but at the end of it, the human intervention to analyze that and then conduct that final interview, conduct that behavioral aspect of it, that is very, very crucial. Like Sir mentioned, you could automate in terms of understanding the core competencies, the skills. You can analyze that. But in terms of behavior, that's going to be such a big area that's not going to be, AI will not be able to give you that 100% satisfactory response on, if this person behaviorally is the right fit or no. Sir mentioned about psychometric tests and psychometric analysis. There are ways where, if you can use AI to give you a psychometric assessment there. You could utilize that. In the earlier panel, somebody was talking about that. Somebody raised a question from the audience that how do we really ensure that they are really being honest? So that is where the human edge comes in. When you bring in that human edge, when you bring in that human intelligence, clubbed with artificial intelligence, that gives you that real intelligence to hire the right set of people. The other part that we have, we really focus on is ensuring that, the people that we hire, they are humble, they are hungry, and they are smart, right? Because, there are certain skills, if they're really willing to learn, if they come in with the minimum core competency that our organization is expecting them to be at, and then, we can train them on the remaining core competencies. You really want them to be humble and hungry to accept that, yes, there is a scope for them to learn, and hungry to really invest in their learning ability. And that really takes care of, the hiring process and makes it simple. The other challenge that I see with the evolving technology and with how we are really evolving with artificial intelligence and automation is training our talent acquisition partners. Right? When it comes to, because, back in the day, like Sir mentioned 5 years ago, everything was very, very manual. Every individual had to step in, do the pre-screening interview, do the first round of interview, and then, pass on the candidates further. Today, a lot of that is taken care of by artificial intelligence and some part of automation, right? What really is the edge is, now, from like 6-7 rounds of interviews, even for senior levels, we have come down to like two rounds, or maximum 3 rounds, right? So the recruiters need to be trained on what should they be asking and what should they be looking for. And that really is very, very crucial. And to support our recruiters, what we've done is we've created interview guides for all roles. So it's not like a very structured interview, it's a semi-structured interview. So they have like a really predefined structure, and based on the answers that they hear, they can follow up, dig deep into it, because every question has a reason for asking it. And unless and until our recruiters, our talent acquisition partners are very clear, we can talk about artificial intelligence really helping us, but that part will still get defeated. That's my thought.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I think I pick up the word hungry. I think nobody's hungry in this room. So what we'll do is we'll not wait till all the panelists have spoken. We still have 2 more panelists to speak. But we would like to take a question from the audience at this moment. So who would like to put their first question? Time to wake up. Good morning. Any questions from the audience at this juncture? Or any comment, like, if anybody wants to make a comment or a question, it's not necessary it has to be a question, it can be a comment. Nothing?
I just want to know, because I am here to learn. Anyone want to share the automation journey that must have done and failed actually, or learned something hard way? किया था और गड़बड़ हो गई.
That's a good question.
Anyone would love to know that.
Can somebody give him a mic, please?
हेलो, एक्चुअली हम लोगों ने ट्राई किया था सर, बहुत सारी जगहों पे देखो ऑटोमेशन रियली वर्क्स वेरी हार्ड फॉर अस एंड रियली इट minimizes thousands crore of losses and saves thousands crores of total Amul turnover, sir. Actually, sir, technology always works when actually artificial intelligence itself says it's artificial. It's not natural. So who can do the natural thing in this process? Humans also. So we did at one place at packing machine, packing milk pouches. तो हमने वहाँ पे ऑटोमेशन बहुत सारी जगहों पे डाला एंड ऑल दोज एरियाज वेयर वेरी वेल सेटिस्फैक्ट्री विद द ऑटोमेशन. और हमारा जो मिल्क पाउच मशीन है वहाँ पे जो पाउच पकड़ पकड़ के कैरेट में डालना है और वो कैरेट आगे जाना है, तो वहाँ पे वो इतना प्रिसाइजली नहीं कर पाया. अब कुछ जगहों पे वो मान लो कि पाउच में लीकेज आ जाता है, तो इट इज़ स्टिल नॉट आइडेंटिफाई कि ये लीकेज है, पिन होल है, ये हॉरिजॉन्टल लीकेज है, वर्टिकल लीकेज है. तो स्टिल हम भी सोच रहे हैं कि उसमें कोई सेटिस्फैक्ट्री रिजल्ट्स कोई कंपनी दे पाए. अब देखो, पहले मिल्क पाउच, पहले मिल्क बॉटल्स आती थी कि ग्लास की बोतल में दूध बेचते थे, पहले आता था. उसके बाद रिवॉल्यूशन आया कि उसमें पाउच आ गया, उसमें करोड्स ऑफ पाउचेस आर सेलिंग एवरीवेयर. इट्स इजी टू मूव, इजी टू ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड इजी टू कैरी. तो उसमें बहुत सारे फ़ायदे हुए. तो इसमें ऑटोमेशन में पीपल आर गोइंग. अभी देखो सर, कोरोना के बाद हाल ये हुआ है कि कोई काम करना स्किल लेबर है या तो स्किल मैन पावर है, आप इलेक्ट्रीशियन को बुलाओ, आप ये प्लम्बर को बुलाओ, दे आर नॉट कमिंग रियली. तो उनको आप दे दो कि आपको 2,000 रुपये दे देंगे, जो काम के 500 रुपये होते आप 2,000 दो, 3,000 दो, दे आर नॉट रियली कमिंग. सो ड्यू टू सम रीजन्स. तो अभी पीपल आर गोइंग टू ऑटोमेशन, बट ऑटोमेशन हैव इट्स ऑन चैलेंजेस. तो धीरे धीरे ये होगा और आगे जाके उसमें बहुत सारे फायदेज है इसके. इट्स ऑन प्रोज एंड कॉन्स, बट इट विल बी बेनिफिशियल टू. सो AI के जैसा होगा सर उसमें भी.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And based on that, like one question that comes to my mind, I think I'm looking at you, Rishykesh, is you deal with such a complex situation, and I'm picking up from what he shared, in which like automation has not worked. So what are your thoughts, like, because the kind of environment and the work that you handle, it has got a mix of both. It has got a mix of people who are like highly skilled and mix of people who are not that skilled, but they are very, very critical for the success. So would you like to throw some light on that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, talking about at this stage, and I think last few years what we have seen, automation has evolved leaps and bounds even in HR services. And I believe almost all the organization has adopted automation in some manner or the other. The only thought process which is required now is that to what extent you want to go with automation and how much of human touch is required in your processes. When you talk about the HR processes, because HR is all about people, so you just can't depend on automation only. People in the organization or when you are hiring people, every time you will see they want to be heard. They have certain things which they want to discuss with people, with their managers or with the recruiters. So this aspect cannot be completely washed out with automation or even with AI. As far as bringing in automation or AI is concerned, one example as he shared, similarly I can tell you, initially there is always a resistance in implementing any new system. We have we are operating airports across the country. So in order to, there is a lot of congestion at most of the airports, especially if you talk about Delhi airport, you will find a lot of congestion is there and there were a lot of issues going on. So recently we have developed that one software which is called DGM-HR. Now, initially as a pilot project, we have implemented it in 5 of the airports. And at 3 airports, we found it running very well, very smoothly. Without minimizing any manpower, the flow of people getting into the airports has increased. And it has made it very smooth. The process has been made very smooth with the help of this DGM-HR. But at the same time, when we were implementing it at one of the airports, we found it very difficult to implement there. So it all depends on the place where it is being utilized, the process, how it is being implemented. So at this stage, what is required is automation cannot be denied in HR or in any of the practices. But what is important is a strategic integration of this automation and the human touch, which is very important.
So I just want to
Sure.
carry on from where he left.
Sure.
The last line was very important. Strategic integration. Now, just by the show of hands, let me ask the audience.
Of course.
How many times have you experienced that you were in the process of recruiting somebody and somebody from, up in the hierarchy called you up and said, okay, you have to hire this guy, right? Kitni baar aisa hota hai, right? Now, if that is the case, will you be able to automate your process? How will the automation work? So we talked about automation versus humanization. So we are doing humanization in wrong areas, right? So if we define the process and if we take the buy-in from the right people, I think if they break the process, the onus is theirs, right? So no system, no technology can automate any process if humans, us, are breaking it. So one of the key challenges in recruitment is, in fact, in my team itself, in the current organization, we have a very strong HR head, and she always makes it a point that she would just go up to the level of CMD and she would say, sir, mera process allow nahi karta hai, you are referring somebody, we will consider, but only if the person fits in the requirement will I consider the person, else no.
Correct. Makes sense. Actually, I think that brings me to thought is it is important that every organization talks about strategies. That this is the strategy that we have taken and this is how we're going to implement and this is how we're going to move about. So I think the HR strategy is also critical. So I'll come to you, Abhishek, is what do you think that, what companies should do in this changing environment? What kind of strategies? And we know we are living in an environment which is changing so fast. So what are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I was just going through this topic once, in my head twice. It says automation versus humanization. So it puts, versus means puts ones against each other. and saying in improving hiring efficiency without sacrificing quality. So it implies that you improve your hiring efficiency by automation, that's implied. And without sacrificing quality, that means you have a fear of sacrificing quality because of automation. So that's a kind of a threadbare if I do the analysis. I kind of disagree because I don't really believe that automation, I believe automation brings a lot of efficiency, but that doesn't really necessarily mean that automation doesn't really bring the, or sacrifice the quality. You can have a marriage or kind of happy marriage in both of them, which sort of we are trying to do. While obviously there are some points here and there, pros and cons every time is there. So in my case particularly, because I come from a very niche background, sometimes we need people who are very niche. For example, we hire a role, you may not have heard, a lot of you may not have heard, called blockchain developer. So that's a very different role. You may not have seen also a blockchain developer for that matter. Now I have a very different process to identify blockchain developer because first, there are not many. Second is I need the best. Simple. So I have a very different process wherein automation, AI, humanization, all three plays a role particularly. So for me, I do not really put it versus or us, A versus B particularly. I want to maximize everything of it. So my strategy of using these two words particularly is that I utilize automation to the maximum that I can. I use AI, last panel I was there, I use AI, I am an ambassador of AI myself particularly. So I use them very, very heavily in my process. Last May, we have in my all kind of a interview process because we come from a very different industry and many of the employees, many of the candidates rather who are employees now, had heard this term first time. They didn't know about my firm for that matter. Even if they heard the term, they didn't know about the details of the firm, what they're all about. We have all those sort of guides to align a person from the very beginning to the end. So the idea is basically we hire for passion. Subject matter knowledge is there, but we hire for passion. And that for passion is what for me is very important. At the end of the entire process, wherein I employ a lot of humanization, a lot of automation and AI, but last May you have a culture round altogether. I just want to understand the culture. In fact, as a matter of fact, just a live example, just before this panel, I got a call from a head of TA, and she interviewed one person for a very senior role, and she said, he's a good guy, but I didn't really get the good vibes because his attitude doesn't seem to be correct. Now that's for me is absolutely no, because I need people who can actually work in a kind of a very greenfield space, in a space where they will design their own KPIs for that matter. It's very unstructured. Startup space is very unstructured. It's not very, you are not a TCS or a Cognizant where KPIs चले आ रहे हैं, so much क्योंकि copy paste ही कर सकते हो आप अगले साल आके उसको same. यहाँ पे नहीं है उस तरह का. No offense to anyone from TCS Cognizant here, just on a lighter note.
Actually, I like to just, sorry, I'm intervening. So I just like to erase one misconception which normally we carry, and I accept myself that I have carried unless I really experience the technology. That whenever we bring the technology, so there is a compromise on quality. So which is not true, and in few cases, I found it's a better in technology and better in terms of quality results rather than manual. So let me, because we have recently implemented, instead we are in the implementation stage. We have not even completely implement this entire TA processes, automation of TA and adopting the AI. But while experiencing, while testing, we have experienced 4 or 5 products in the market. So in those testing, what I really found, the quality is much more better than the human quality, except few key positions. Yes, there are few positions where you have to intervene to really test the competencies, the behavioral skill, particularly the cultural fitment, and also the background checks. Because sometimes, please don't mind, if I like to have a soft HR person and instead of I hire ex-army man, it's very difficult sometimes to gel with the entire situation. This is a real example. So AI can shortlist a ex-army man for the same position because of qualification and experience, but may not fit in your cultural requirement, right? Your cultural fitment with the organization are different. So this particular cases where you need to check the cultural fitment, rest I think most of the talent acquisition processes, it's a completely quality outcome what I have received. And whomsoever is not receiving the quality outcome, it's entirely because of they haven't set the right processes and parameters. If you are having different imagination and you are designing something else in terms of processes or the parameters, then definitely your results are not going to be aligned with your expectations. So if you have right processes and right parameters for your talent acquisition technology adaptation, there is no way you compromise in terms of quality outcome. This is my personal experience because I have already tested 4 products and we are into the implementation stage of one of the product.
So that's a wonderful point made by both the gentlemen, Abhishek and Devasheesh. Right, so here what we are talking about here is the use of technology without compromising upon quality. So there are 2 elements in the recruitment process. One is defined elements, everything which is defined under job description, right, as to what the person has to do, the kind of, KSAs required, knowledge, skills and attitude and competency framework and everything. Now that can very well be automated. You just put that data in the system and the system will be able to measure, analyze and give you the right kind of CVs and will follow the process, everything. But there are areas which are hidden. Nobody knows about it. And that's where the humanization comes in play. And that is where the importance of screening and the involvement of recruitment executives is very important, which is, you mentioned it rightly, cultural fitment. Now the cultural fitment is not all about the kind of behaviors the aspirants or the candidates exhibit. It is all about, do they really know about the culture that I have in my organization? So if as a recruiter, I'm open to discuss about the kind of culture we have within our organization, if the person will be comfortable within that culture, right, that will create a lot of value in the recruitment process, because the person, irrespective of the kind of fitment he has with the job description, when they join, they are sometimes surprised. Boss, have I landed in the right place or not? Right? If they know the culture well in advance, they would make a conscious call whether they want to join or not join. And if they join, they are very well aware of the kind of behavior which is expected out of them. And that means, another KPI in the recruitment, for the recruitment team, attrition. Right? So you would have less of attrition.
Good one. So I think the panel is kind of giving us a very good thought that, it's not about versus, it's all about this and. So automation and humanization, I think both is critical for us to have success. And we have to identify which one we need to automate and get the best results out of it, and which one would give us the insights so that we can take the right decision. Of course, not forgetting the culture part of it. So there would be debates like, agreement and disagreements, that would always be there, that's part of humans. But that brings me to one important question here, Mayank. I'll throw this question to you is, how do data analytics and machine learning algorithms contribute to improving hiring efficiency? Because we've been talking about that. And what measures should organizations take to ensure that these technologies are used ethically, and that's most important, ethically and transparently to avoid bias and discrimination in the recruitment process?
That's a wonderful question. So the first part of it, understanding data analytics into the hiring part of it, this also becomes a part of automation. Looking at all that data manually will take you a lot of time to understand what the data is really talking to you. So that's the first part. We really need to automate, capturing that data, understanding the sentiments of, what did the people feel when they were hired or before they were hired, minus 15 days. What is the feeling that they had right after induction? What is the feeling that they had in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Then you take it to 180, 365 days. That gives you an understanding of, what were the strategies used while hiring them, tracking that, and then understanding their sentiments through the entire journey. So, gathering that data, number one. Number two, deploying people who are able to, create a story out of that data. That's another challenge that I've seen, among some people within the organization, that they'll have a lot of data to look at. Right? AI will give you some story from that data. You have a large language model internally created, you're using external large language models. They will tell you some story. But are you able to look at that story? Are you able to look at that data and analyze that story and relate it to the real behaviors that you're seeing within the organization? Right? That becomes the key. That becomes the key. So, for that, to mitigate the challenge, you'll really need to work with people who can analyze data, understand data, sit with them, do roundtable conferences, have discussions around, what are they seeing, why are they seeing it like that, bring in different perspectives like we're doing on this panel today. So that's the first part of it. Second part of it, using it ethically. When you have so much of data to look at, right? And if I, as an individual, are like, okay, let me just backtrack here. We were just, looking at some examples that Sir mentioned, that there will be people, who join the organization and the first thought they have is, "Main kahan phas gaya?" Like wrong place to be here. And if you are not able to analyze those people, and you have the right set of you have a lot of responsibility given to those individuals, then it also becomes, the human error comes in, because they're already negatively biased towards the organization, right? We were talking about data being biased based on what is fed in. But that data can also give you a lot of different perspectives based on a lot of different perspectives fed in. But the human biasness, that can have a lot of negative impact. So as the head of that group, you'll also need to be very focused on who are making those decisions. Are those decisions in line with the story that your data is telling you? If there is a mismatch, you need to go back and deep dive in and understand what is causing that error. And only then you'll be able to bridge that gap and utilize data ethically, understanding data, and then utilizing the data ethically there.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'd like to pick up 2 points over here, and I'll come to you, Captain, because you've seen 2 sides of the world. Like, you've seen the army world and you've seen the civilian world. So I like to understand from you is, when it comes to ethics, like, in terms of ethical way of looking at things. So what are the differences that you see in both these avatars that you've seen? Like, whether it was in your army days and now that you're seeing in the civilian days. So when it comes to ethics, does it change or does it remain the same?
In good organization, ethics should always remain same. So when we talk about the armed forces experience, I'll try to draw the comparatives in a manner which could be relatable. So the purpose which you have when you are in the forces, so it's very clearly defined. So in organization's perspective, it has to be the vision and the mission which have to be really clearly defined. The kind of ethics which are followed are unmatchable, because you cannot move away from the past, and the approaches are very hierarchical. So when we come to the corporate world, I see lots of at places where it is centralized and at places where it is very decentralized. Now the aim is to bring together, if we relate it within the parameter of ethics, how strongly we feel for the company. So in one of my previous assignments, we used to have a quality policy, and our MD was very passionate about it. He would call everybody for we had an area, a conference area. Everybody recite quality policy. Let me see who has by hearted it. So what that point of the time, what looked to us was, what are we trying to achieve from here, was what his intentions was to bring us on a common page. Now, once you are speaking about the quality policy, it is the purpose. It is that mission or that the statement which you want to define your company with. And you want everybody to relate to a common purpose. And trust me, once you relate everybody to a common purpose, I think everything falls into place. Now, in this element, when we talk about, I think we heard a very good discussion. The cultural fitment part is absolutely amazing, because when we are hiring, there are 2 aspects only which people will be looking at. One is the technical competencies which are there in the resume, or once you already know about it, what are the strength areas the person has. What you do not know about is the behavioral competencies. So most of the time when I am particularly going, so we go to ITs and we already know the students are doing good, and in general cases we know the technical know-hows. But at the same time, we want whether they can really fit. So 70 to 80% of our interviews are based on behavior competencies. Whether this employee, let us say for example, can go to Japan, can sustain the pressures over there, can sustain the life, and can he contribute for a longer run. So all those things come into picture. Another example, once at our company, we have like globally 85,000 employees. So in 2018, this initiative started wherein we wanted to put everybody on a common page. Success factors happened then. And it has taken 4 or 5 years of us when we meet for global HR conferences. All we are designing, we want to put all 85,000 on page. There are challenges, but we could launch the recruitment module. We could go with the PMGM models and the succession planning, compensation, LMS module is working very well now. Once we had put all these elements, the aim is that we should be able to pick up, like this candidate who is working in Europe is quite good if you put the person in Japan, right? And he can serve the purpose well. So that's where we are leading, that automation does help. Now, but at the same time, you need a very structured data. You need data to speak for it. And it should be able to be available at the people, but the people also have to be trained to use it. If they are well trained to use it, you can get the best of the results. If they are not trained, it could be a really big problem. So coming back again to from where we started, ethics, I think every company, if every employee is very passionate about for his job, what I spoke in the morning, you go and you take your work as a hobby and give your best to it and go with a good purpose. So I think we all stand to gain from it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. So I have a quick question for Abhishek, because Abhishek, you picked up one interesting point of culture and misfit and algorithms, and you gave more hierarchy to the algorithm, that follow the algorithm. So my question to you is, we have on one side algorithm which needs to be followed because it's scientific, it's proven, it's science. And on the other side, we have the human element, which is also talking about the softer aspects of, like you shared, the example of I don't see this person fitting into me. But for you, it is like it's a softer aspect or possibly a bias coming in. So my question to you is that how do we balance between this algorithm and bias?
My sort of take is that algorithms are, if you're using the word algorithms, they are developing themselves day by day. They're improving themselves day by day. That's kind of a beauty of this algorithms or AI or automation altogether, that they are getting better. I mean, if you've heard about ChatGPT 4.0, right? Now the free of cost has become better and much better responses are coming in, right? So my sense is that what I want to do, or at least what I think is that one day, because obviously day by day, these things will become so better that they will actually, they will present a picture to me wherein I will not be really compelled to choose one out of two. That, you choose algorithm or you choose me, something like that. Or maybe 89, maybe if not 100-0, maybe 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, whatever number is. I as a person, I believe that we need to tilt towards a little more on algorithm side, little less on personal side, just because I know the cultural fitments and all that stuff. I wish that these things will also give us the culture, which by the way is giving right now. If you are toying with the kind of an idea of AI-based interviewer and all, they are giving you the cultural fitments also. Obviously, basis the data that you feed into it. So everything becomes that what you feed, what you get kind of stuff. But a little bit of incline more on algorithm side, because there are a lot of biases that we face on the person side. Now, somebody, I think the MD example that you've given, right? So that's again a bias. वो MD भी हो सकता है, even वो head of HR भी हो सकता है. MD तो छोड़ो, MD को क्या, यार मेरे को क्या लेना है, kind of stuff, right? Head of HR, now you are getting an interview having from the very day one to day last, and the certain kind of a personality that I like as a head of HR, for example, if I take a personal example, I like certain kind of, because everyone has eccentricities by the way. We are all sitting there, everyone has that personal liking, disliking. अब उसको कैसे वहाँ पे minimize करना है, that becomes challenge for me many times. This happens with me. This can happen with you, for example. Let's say, I'll give you a very practical example, and it happens कहीं ना कहीं दिल में. Let's say you happen to interview a candidate जो ex-army से है. वो थोड़ा आ ही जाएगा. कैंपस से आ जाता है. एक्सेलर है, SCMHRD, I'm from SCMHRD, मेरे को आ जाता है कैंपस का. वो biases हैं, and I want to remove those biases. I led campus programs for I led campus programs for my several organizations, hired 300 folks across the Jamshedpur, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, all these. Now, whenever I used to go to the business at that time, that, want to hire some people, marketing head ke paas gaya, finance head, and they said that, yeah, I need 3 people. Okay, why do you need 3 people? I need 3 people and all. I need, okay, theek hai, 3 people. Then, yaar, NM se le lo ek SPGen se le lo. Why? Because I am from SPGen. You're getting my point? These are all practical things that we are, as an HR, we struggle with this. Person, ना पसंद कुछ और हो सकती है. Campus की जगह कुछ और हो गया, अच्छा लग गया. City है, मेरी city से है. Delhi से है, मैं भी Delhi से हूँ. You never know. So I want to reduce those kind of biases using that algorithms or for a better word, algorithms, AI, automation, whatever stuff, so that maybe in 80, 20, 70, 30, one day will come, for example, right? So that's kind of my view. I don't have the perfect answer right now, but I tend to err on the side of this side rather than this side.
Right, so I would like to pick up from where these two gentlemen left. So, Captain, with your permission, there's a beautiful recruitment process in defense forces. To a certain level, the hiring team does not even know the demographic details about the participants, the aspirants, right? Right, so of course they are removing those biases. Now that becomes part of the process. You consciously hide all those demographic details and you only focus upon the competencies, right? And eventually, when you have the final lot there for the interview, right, so even if you want, right, you don't have a choice. As in, consciously, if you want to hire somebody because of your biases, you will still not be able to do it because you don't have a choice. The system has already done the part, right? What you have to do right now is, whatever system is proposing to you, is it right or not? It's just the validation bit of it, that's it. That's also algorithm, right? Secondly, we talked about, biases, certain biases. You talked about pedigree. Yes, there are biases, Most of the organizations these days would like to go to premier institutions for, entry-level recruitments. And incidentally, that is one problem we are trying to solve as part of a startup next year, right? So what we are doing is consciously, what we realize is it's not the fault of the person that he was born in a certain ecosystem and he couldn't really, fare well. You must have observed there are people who are not doing well in schools, they suddenly start doing well in colleges. And people who are not doing well in colleges, when they land a job, and that's purely by fluke, they outshine the best of the best, right? What is changing? There's nothing. The person is the same. The competencies he possesses, everything stays the same, right? It's just the environment, the ecosystem which is changing, right? So if you provide that environment to the people who are studying in tier 2, tier 3 institutions, they might as well, outshine the people who are coming from the premier institutions. Because there they have a lot to prove, right? They have a lot to prove. So you consciously should take away those biases when you're recruiting. And one way of doing it is automation, right? The rest of it, the best that you can do is validate what the automation is suggesting you, the algorithm. And if there is a tweak that is required to be made, please do it. And secondly, your job as a human should be to make the person comfortable, right? That's it.
So thanks. Devasheesh, I'll just come to you. But before that, I just want to hear it because we are on this point and it has a lot of localization into it. So Rishykesh, a question to you is, because you have spread across country and mostly it has been seen in your, way of recruitment, like people generally want to recruit somebody who are locals. So especially if it's at the field level or person who's going to work with that person at the field level, especially at the airport clearance level. So what are your thoughts? Is that correct or is that a wrong notion outside?
See, in case of public sector organizations or in government, the process of recruitment is very different. There are a few posts and the number of applicants is too high. Like we have one of the best of the posts that we have is, air traffic controllers. They are actually controlling the air traffic and guiding the pilots in the airspace. So when we are recruiting for that post, for approximately 100 of the posts, you will find more than 1 lakh applications. In such a situation, we are also using, the automated system to filter these applications. So the only thing which is the system is seeing what are the qualifications required, what are the parameters which are there on that basis. When you talk about the culture fit or whether that person will fit into the organization or not, now that point in, in that kind of recruitment, when PSU recruitments are being made, at initial level, there is no interview. So you cannot interact with the candidate. So that part is completely, missing. But we found that after that, once they are hired and when they are put for training, there is a training program for 6 months. I think very few of the people are there who are not doing well, because it's one of the place where, you just can't even miss for a second. At, airports like Delhi, every hour they are handling about, 160 flights. So you can imagine per seconds how many flights they are handling. They have come from, different backgrounds, from different demographics, right, from very 2-tier and 3-tier places also. But this part that, they have been selected only on the basis of their qualification, and on the basis of the examination they have qualified. And then there were certain tests. Obviously, they have to undergo some psychometric test and the this physical efficiency and the medical test, and all those are there. But then this part, interacting with the candidate, is at no stage. But still, we find that they are doing good. And that is how it's, one of the most sophisticated sector it is, aviation. And they are at the, best of the place. At a very young age, I found people coming, these candidates who are selected, mostly in the age group of, 22 to 24. And they are doing very well. We don't find any issue in that. So, in case of public sector organization, I believe this is working good. But in case of, obviously, it varies. What are your goals and how you want to, develop your system. It all depends on that.
Thanks for sharing. Devasheesh, to you.
Yeah, actually, just I like to share one real life experience. It is not related to really recruitment for any industry or something. It's in a panel to hire for the B school. And I think students are all undergraduate, and the panel is interviewing them one by one, and they are claiming their seats in the B school. It's a reputed business school. So interviews are really going well. A lot of confident, knowledgeable students. We are happy to see the stuff. We keep on approving one by one, and disapproving as well, whomsoever not fit in our parameter, whatever the institute has given to us, certain parameters, whomsoever not fitting, we rejecting them. And one student appear, a very shabby dress, no, not at all good in communication, background seems to be a farmer. He only stated one thing: sir, I know I'm not in the fitment in terms of parameter what you have set in, but still give me a chance, otherwise how I could improve. And it's a really emotional moment for panel. So okay, you just wait, we will discuss. So now, what, instead of me or that panel, if you were there, what you are going to do with this kind of request, and why? Anybody can answer it. Anybody like to? Yeah, please answer. Mike, please. Please hand over her mic. No, I am going to ask a cross question, because now HR is a most ethical profession. So before considering your recommendation, my question is, if we consider that, approve that particular students, we are definitely going to did injustice is one of the qualified person. So how you are going to justify this injustice?
So giving a chance doesn't, unjustify the position, first of all. I personally feel this thing. And a qualified person performance or attitude might be not that great also. There are certain parameters in HR. It's just not one parameter. That qualification or communication or 1 or 2 points were very relevant during that group discussion, so this person is better. But on a personal front, say the attitude is good, the need is there, the urge is there. I think it's a good parameters to this thing. And somewhere down the line, everyone has to be given the chance equally.
I understand, but out of algorithm, what is the
There
justification?
is a question I wanted to ask this
complete.
panel.
Let me complete my question. Out of algorithm, just to clear your cautious, what is the point? How you are going to clear your cautious?
And I think on this point, I would be a bit taking a point very differently. If everything, when we are recruiting something, everything and artificial intelligence cannot do. Right? Somewhere down the line, when we are talking about human touch, when we are talking about we need to do one-on-one on discussion, attitude, the psychology of the person has to be noticed and, properly been verified. I think that way one-on-one touch of HR is required. Algorithm, we're going to set it, sir. It's going to work.
Very well said, Didi. Very well said. Thanks a lot. Only thing, let me clarify you, because we have a cautious and we have to be ethical. In the panel, we have allowed that person, and with the perception that whomsoever are best, they are going to get admission either in this business school or any other. They have no problem in getting that. But if we miss that person, he might not get another chance in any business school. So let's do it. So that's the way we hire. So humanization in terms of artificial intelligence, yes, it's a very different aspect and it plays major role in it. So only thing is, this is one of the experience I like to share with them. So you have any question? Yeah, only thing is, as earlier I have told you that it is not whether we are going to get quality result with this entire technology. It's matter of trust. There are so many technologies we are trusting on. Earlier we won't. Now our life is depend on it, right? Soon you are going to have driverless cars. I don't know how many you dare to really test that product or not. How many of you really like to test those products, or still you think, no, I am the best driver, I rather trust on my skill instead of taking a venture of artificial intelligence. Sorry, let me drive. So, like to hear from you, how many of you think you are going to trust on driverless cars? Very few. So that's the thing. Even in talent acquisition, adaptation and technology is depend on the trust, and trust you gain gradually with the experience. So faster you gain the trust, faster you adopt the technology, and faster you get the quality result. Yes, I completely agree with the lady that human interference or touch always going to remain there, either in terms of data analytics to keep the check, what's going wrong. Other example I just share with you. In one position, I have seen the TAT of 465 days. How much? More than a year. So what's wrong with this particular position? So I have just called entire feedback forms and everything, whether this position is required or not. My management asked me, surrender this position. That business side need not require this position, leave it. Say, okay, business is business, let me check what happened. So with entire feedback, when we analyze, so there is a disconnect in between the recruiter and in between that particular position requirement. So after that experience, we have then started a process where the recruiter has to fill ratings in respect to each parameter for that position. Now I'm really checking the skills of the recruiter and the need of the HOD. So now the game start. So the recruiter has given against parameter 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4 against 5. And the HOD start giving 1, 0, 1, 0. So something is wrong there. But recruiter is very well aligned with the other HODs, other positions were getting closed very fast. So, okay, something is wrong with the alignment, okay. Then again, I interview myself, first round of a screening interview with the recruiter, okay, let's interview, screening round with me, and then I try to analyze what's going wrong. So recruiter has a different perception despite having parameters, and he keep on getting good talent, but not getting fit in that particular profile. And HOD is such a hard-headed person, he is not ready to compromise on the position for 65 days. Anyway, so these are the examples. But when you talk about automation, AI, this is much faster, because then you can have immediately analytical report in front of you, what's going wrong, who is wrong, where you need to have a corrective action. So if recruiter score versus rejection score are very much different, then something is wrong with the parameter. Either you have to rework on the JD or skill set of the position and then get the right talent applications and accordingly fasten the process, or otherwise you will continue with the same kind of TAT what I have experienced personally earlier. So these are the few examples why I recommend that automation, particularly the artificial intelligence one, and it's a wonderful. Any question?
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, we are being very mindful of the time, so we have very less time. So we can quickly take one or two questions. Anybody wants to have a question, like one or two questions, we can, I think, go.
Sure. I think before we go for the questions, a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for this wonderful panel here. And thank you to all the panel members for enlightening all of us. Yes, I think in the interest of the time, we can take two quick questions. So I saw the gentleman there. Can you please keep your hand raised? Can we have the mic to the gentleman? Please introduce yourself and from which organization and question to which particular panel member.
Sure. I'm Sharma and I'm an HRBP manager from Atmos Technologies, Navi Mumbai. So I would love to hear answer from Abhishek. So the question would be for you. That, I've been listening to that concept of not selecting a candidate because I did not have the feeling that he could be or she could be a correct fit to my company, right? And especially I deal with crisis management, and just before after lunch I got a call stating that एक escalation हो गया, चार Java full stack developers को भेजना है मुझे, ठीक, in which I only have one and remaining 3 now I'm sourcing. Now here comes a point when I'm taking an HR round, synergy round most importantly. So what type of culture the developer is coming from? What is my culture? Would that person be a fit for my culture or not? So would I have to compromise my cultural quality of the candidate at the time of crisis management? Because, looking onto the data, when doing data analytics of the retention, तो मुझे पता है कि ठीक है इसमें ये components नहीं है तो छोड़ के चला गया, ये components है तो है. So I know what are the qualities that I'm looking out for in the candidate at the end of the day. But while doing crisis management, do you think what is really important?
Yeah, thank you for the question.
So the question is, in the crisis management, what is really important, a culture or a person, right? The solution. So crisis management में solution ही important होता है. जब आग लगती है तो आग बुझानी है भाई पहले. बाद में देख लेंगे कि वो कितना दूर था फायर स्टेशन और उसमें कितना पानी था नहीं था, वो बाद में देख ही लिया जाएगा. If you are answering me, this is a personal thing. If there is a crisis and there is a business crisis, then this is the first thing that I will do. I needed 3 Java developers. If I need to dug this earth also, then I'll get 3 Java developers for my business, because that's where my salary comes. I'm a very sort of little more business focused guy. I come from business background, so for me, business is business. So that's my question to you. And obviously, when you will have a time, the idea of crisis is, in my view, abhi ke liye, whatever required you do, but you do the RCA and you see why this became a crisis situation. Why didn't I have the Java developers already with me, or talent mapped particularly? If not on roles, at least talent mapped. For example, I have 3 blockchain developers right now with me who are not on my roles, but if I need a blockchain developer, I can get you within 15 days. I'm just giving an example. Not saying कि बहुत hot shot हो गई चीज़, easy है. I'm just giving an example. I hope that answers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abhishek. I think we'll wrap up here, and
Absolutely.
the other questions we can take it as an informal outside. Thank you, panelists, all of you, for such a lovely thought sharing. And
Thank
I
you.
hope it
Thank you
was
so
good
much
for you.
once again. And thank you, Mr. Banerjee, for wonderfully wrapping up the panel. Would request the panel members to kindly be on stage. And I would like to call on stage Ms. Rakhi Mehra, co-founder from Trophy Card, to kindly do the honors of felicitating our panel here. Thank you, Rakhi ji, for doing the honors. We'll start with Mr. Devasheesh Kumar from CNS Electric. We have special gifts from Trophy Card for all the panel members as well. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to Mr. Devasheesh Kumar for his wonderful contribution in the panel. Moving to our next panel member, Mr. Mayank Akhani from Etech Global Services. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Mayank Akhani for his wonderful contribution in the panel. Moving next to Mr. Rishykesh Priyadarshi from Airports Authority of India. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to Mr. Rishykesh Priyadarshi for his thoughts on the panel. Moving next to Captain Vipul Sharma from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, India. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Captain Vipul Sharma for his wonderful contribution in the panel. Moving next to Mr. Abhishek Gupta from ZebPay. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Abhishek Gupta for his wonderful contribution in the panel session. Moving next to Mr. Amit Jindal from CJ Darcl Logistics. A big round of applause for Mr. Amit Jindal for his wonderful contribution in the panel. And now to our honorable panel moderator, Mr. Joy Banerjee from IL&FS Group, for wonderfully moderating the panel session. Big round of applause to Mr. Banerjee for wonderfully moderating the panel and for his valuable insights in the panel as well. Would request the panel members to kindly step forward for a group photograph. And Rakhi, if you could also join them. Thank you to all the panel members for their wonderful contribution in this panel session. And thank you to Mr. Joy Banerjee for wonderfully moderating the panel as well.